It is Wednesday, July 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. and calling the Board of Health meeting to order. Is anyone else recording this besides LakeCAM? I see no one. First on the agenda is 32 Heritage Hill Drive, meet with Foresight Engineering to discuss requested local upgrades. Darren, it's up to you, bud.
Darren Gill from Foresight Engineering. We all know this neighborhood very well. They didn't call a water table originally, and water table was about 4 feet in most areas, 3 feet. Tight soils, so we had to do a sieve. So since we're coming for the sieve, I'm asking for a groundwater variance just so that you can see my grading. I can connect to the grades right behind the deck and make a decent flat backyard. If I push it up another foot, now I've created a hump in the backyard. We're already pumping it, so I'm just more aesthetics and drainage flow, preventing puddling right in the middle of the backyard there. And that's about it. We're trying to avoid all the big trees. Going backwards doesn't really help me. You can see the size of the system next door and the retaining walls there. That's about 5 feet out of the ground. I think Derek remembers that one going in. That's it. Pretty straightforward.
Nothing jumping at me, but I'm open to listen to other people's suggestions. I know Ed had some stuff. So you got the folder.
Jumping out, yeah. All the old systems like this, flow uses.
Yep.
73, it was put in as a 3-bedroom.
Yep.
It was repaired in 89, and they added another 2 rows of flow diffusers, capped off the other one.
Yep.
As a 3-bedroom on a 31,000 square foot lot.
Yeah, and it's a 4-bedroom house. I mean, it's a standard colonial 4 bedrooms. There's 1 down and 3 up. It's pretty cut and dry for Title V. Yeah, I'm not trying to increase flow for any reason other than that's what's there and that's what it's going to be sold at. They didn't do any construction. There's no building permits. There's no added walls. It's one of those houses where the inside is.
I didn't do it, but the assessors does have it as a 4-bedroom, and it's been that way for a while.
Yeah, I asked them and it hadn't changed in quite a while. So I'm not sure when that all happened, but there hasn't been any building permits or anything pulled.
And like I said, there are a number of ones that did that, whether in some of them, they actually proposed a 3-bedroom on the plan, and then the builders just went and built a 4-bedroom. A lot of this happened 20 years ago. You know, it is not in compliance. Like I said, it's a 30,000 square foot lot with a 4-bedroom on it. But like I said, since it happened so long ago, if it was happening now, I would call it out, you know, but, because I think the first one was a 3-bedroom, but the second one was a 4-bedroom. Or
No.
It was the same size system, but it's,
89 was the same.
yeah.
Same one.
But the assessors have had it as a 4-bedroom since that date, so I don't know if that's why they redid it.
Right, why it wasn't caught in 89.
Right.
Right on our permits, is 3-bedroom in 89. So I mean, it should have been caught back then.
Yep, but you know how things went back then.
Yes.
Well, in 89 was before 95.
Yes.
Before Title V.
Title V, and I think
That
that's,
nitrogen, so it didn't matter.
yeah, exactly.
But,
Right.
Okay. That was one, and then, as always, anytime I'm looking at lowering to the water table, I'm just very picky on where we're calling high groundwater, as always, because you get perk at 104, not even in the field, they miss those chambers. I'm looking at like probably the highest, I'm pretty sure it's 104.5 up near that overdig. You're almost directly between the 104 contour and the 105 contour. So I'm guessing where this water's coming down the hill, you're 112 at the edge of the golf course.
Yeah,
on the
that's
18th hole.
all filled in, Derek. That 103, look at the 103 contour.
Yeah, it goes like this.
Yeah, it should have gone straight across the yard. That's all fill, so.
Yeah, that's over
You're
the
talking about a
chambers.
grade that's not really a grade. That 105 isn't a natural grade. That's 2 feet higher than what the grade actually was back in the day. That 103 came straight across. I mean, they didn't create this mound in the backyard for no reason. That's where the septic is.
Right, I'm just trying to determine the water table at 4 feet if it's
Yeah,
at
well, really the
48.
103 is what cuts through my system originally. So if you held
103
103,
goes around it though.
yeah, it does now because it was graded for this existing septic system. But if you look at the grades of the lot, they didn't cut this lot out. The 103 heads almost towards the house. That should have came right across the backyard and connected to the 103 in the back tree line.
Oh, okay.
They filled that all in to create the new system that they put in 89 because they made it wider.
But this,
But the higher contour is the original where the tree line is, correct? That's the one, I'm not concerned about the
The
103.
104 right at the tree line
The
where
104.5 kind is,
it probably cuts across and went up to the corner of the house. So yeah, my 104 would be one corner of the system, and that's the exact elevation that I perked at was 104, and we called models at 100.
right, but he's saying like below it, like on the
Towards the
lower
house
part,
side.
you also in the tree line, there's an elevation 105. He was
The
using
105
both.
is way up in the woods. The 104
Right,
is
but
at
which
the,
kind of shows it's original, if it's way up in the woods.
105 would have connected this way. It would have came right down here. 105 would have gone through where the house is, not where the system is. Look at where the
Correct.
105 is up to the northeast of the house. That had to have come down. You see how it takes the sharp angle now and it comes down around the yard. That would have came straight down behind the house and connected. And I'm not at 105, I'm at 104. Even at the end of my grading where the 105 connects, you can see right there how it jogs around the fire pit and then goes up towards the house. It's clearly all created.
But I think what he's saying is, if you look here, you have 107, 106, 105, 104, they're all pretty uniform, they're all in the tree line. So those, I would say, are existing grades.
Yeah, that was a slope, and I'm not near the 105, I'm on
Right,
the
but he's,
104.
but he's saying that the corner is between the 104 and the 105.
But not realistically, because that's created right there. That 104 would have kept going straight through my system up to the 104 beyond my test pit.
But
Would
if
have
you're,
connected right there.
if you bisect those, if you have a 104 and 105, if you put it in the middle, it will go right through the corner of
The
your
original grade, I'm saying, Ed, went right now it's right here. This is the original grade, would have gone like this.
right, but I'm just saying the highest of the highest point.
There's your 104, right there. There's the
Right.
original.
And
Yeah.
so he's saying this, if you take this right here, you
Yeah,
bisect
but that's
it.
not what happens. The 105 used to go like this.
But it's right here.
Yes, it's right there, and then look what it does.
It doesn't matter.
So it would have gone, it used
here.
to
We're
go
talking-
there.
We're talking about.
But I'm not at the 105, I'm at 104
But that's what he's
clearly.
using, 104, 104 and a half.
But that's a
105.
created grade, that
But
104
this is
there.
existing here, and the 104 is existing there, so, you know.
It would, but you can clearly see where the 104 went when it was an original grade. They filled that in when they built this new system that's right underneath it. It's all raised up. If you go out there, you can see it's all raised to the tree line.
That is an assumption, like I said, that your 104 is there, because it does appear to me, these all seem pretty uniform, 104, 105, 106.
And so this 103 should have gone just like this.
But like I said, up to right here, it's still in the tree line, so I would assume the 104 would continue to that point too, and it goes back.
Yeah, the 104 goes to right there, and then
See
it
what
would
he's
have gone
saying?
just like that.
Yeah, I see the little
just a
foyer
slope.
starts in the woods, and I
Yeah,
understand
so
what
he's
Darren's
calling
saying
the
too, that the line would
104.
come through.
It would go straight to the way the test
Close
pit
to the
is.
corner.
But that corner of the system is in the woods too, so I think that's where, we're splitting hairs a little bit. I think that existing grade in the woods.
Yeah, this is the
Between the 104 and 105.
Right.
Because you're into the wood line in that corner.
But
of
that's
the
my,
overday.
it's a little bit of the overdig. I mean, I don't know, you guys are splitting hairs. If you don't want to give the round one variance, that's fine. I'll put a hump in the backyard, but it's just gonna create a grading problem behind the house. You're
Yeah, the water's
asking, you're
gonna have
asking
to
for a
go-
puddle right in the middle of that yard, no matter what you do.
You can grade it so you don't have a puddle in the yard.
can,
You-
but-
It's 50 feet away from the house, I mean, it's not like you don't have room to grade.
Yeah.
When you got 106 at the back of the house too.
Yeah, I just can't pull the grade up that much, and I'd have to be into the tree line to connect.
No,
the
it's gonna be a
106s.
hump.
Yeah,
Right,
it's gonna be
you're
a
gonna have
hump either way.
3-foot slope off the back. I'm just worried about the water again, when you got a whole hill coming down there.
I mean, you
I
had a
think it
system
goes
that's clearly
higher.
in the water table for how many years now?
Right.
The original system was 73, so we're looking at 50 years, the system's been completely in the water table. And now you're worried about 2 inches. We're improving the situation. I mean, isn't now Title V says maximum feasibility. So you know that a foot of sand costs about $5,000 to $6,000 now. That's all I'm trying to do is
It
save my
doesn't cost
client.
$5,000 to
Maximum
$6,000.
feasibility
It's
is
42
trying to meet
yards.
the compliance,
Yep.
trying to meet the regs. Just because it's an improvement, and I agree, it is a big improvement, you know, but like I said, if you have a cesspool, that just means, okay, just, let's make a cesspool 6 inches higher.
Right, but I
That's
mean,
not-
I'm still
that's not
allowed
the
to
same
ask
thing.
for the variance
Yes.
because I have a hardship. It's a financial hardship, it's a grading hardship. We're improving the situation. Your job is to protect the water table, I understand that, but look at the improvement that we're making.
And I agree, it's an improvement, I wouldn't say it's not.
I mean, and you're just talking about a corner. If it was half the system, I would agree, let's not give it and let's
But that's
pick it
where the
up.
water comes from and
Right.
comes down that hill on a,
Oh yeah, that's why I didn't put it anywhere near this other system, because that's where all the water sits. So that's the problem too, is I don't wanna trap more water behind this house when we've already trapped water in their backyard with the system that was put in a few years ago. And we're creating dams out there is what we're doing, and we're redirecting water. I mean, now they have a puddle in their backyard that probably wasn't there because it was probably in these people's yard.
Well, they have a puddle because it wasn't graded properly.
Right,
Yeah,
but now we have
you
a
can have
5-foot
raised
wall
system.
too.
You
We also
can
have a
raised-
5-foot wall right there now on the property line, so we've
Yeah.
really trapped the 102.
You're 50 feet away from the house, you can raise it and slope it both ways.
I'm not saying I can't,
Yes,
that's why I'm here to ask for
Right.
something for my client. If you don't want to grant it, that's fine. You know I always come in here and ask for everything I'm allowed to ask for, and you guys make a decision. I'm arguing my case, that's all.
and I did the calcs on the sand, 1 foot of sand with the overdig, 2644, it comes out to 42 yards with compaction, another 8 yards, you're at 50 yards, you're
Yeah.
talking $25 a yard, or $1,250 cost.
Yeah, so $1,500, I mean, it's money.
So,
Yeah.
it is, I don't think you need any more fill, because there's over 150 yards coming out of that excavation down to 101.
Well, it's gonna be junk. It's gonna be all septic. He's gonna need all fill. We're digging in all those
All those
chambers are
chambers
coming
are
out.
coming
Yeah,
out,
we're gonna
so-
have a big mess there when we dig that out.
And you don't think there's a way to move it outside those to save that cost?
Nope, because then
Really
I'm looking at
get
taking
in
down
that
those
hole.
huge oaks. Yeah, I got like 4 or 5 huge oaks, so that
Because
costs
you
of
got the well
that.
in the well, you'd be,
Yeah,
that huge oak.
that would be my ultimate solution, would be really to put it over the 102 and join the other wall, but then it's a lot of tree work. You're probably talking 3 or 4 grand in tree work, because those 2 oaks are 36 inches, so. No, I understand. I understand what your argument is too, so I don't disagree, I'm just,
Anytime there's a big slope, I mean, I think I always argue with this with you on big slopes, I'm just worried that the water coming down. So, and I just don't wanna miss the water table by 6 inches already, because we're going to 3, then you're gonna be 2.5.
yeah, we're still 3 feet above water though. It's, and you're talking perched water table for how many months of the year? 3 or 4 months of the year, it's only a perched water table, it's not a true water table, it's not groundwater coming up from
Is
the bottom.
there's water running down that
Yeah,
neighborhood.
oh yeah, all the time. This subdivision would never be built today. This wouldn't be like this today, and no disagreement there.
Every time I look at these, I'm like, can we just do these things better?
I know.
Just make this argument so much easier, but, Ed, I know you had notes too. Did you have anything else to add?
I mean, everything else looks fine, I'm just trying to avoid grants.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a discussion between the 4th bedroom and the groundwater variance, then I understand that, and I can tell them that, hey, you've got the extra bedroom, even though you
That's
probably
why I
shouldn't have,
questioned
and they
that
can't
right
give
from
you
the
the variance.
beginning, to see,
And that's fine,
you know
so-
what I mean? If it's an increase of flow, you need to show
Yeah.
reserve,
Yeah.
you know, you're.
So I would understand that as a reason too, because we're over our nitrogen loading. So, I mean, you guys have arguments on why not to give the variance, I'm just asking for it.
Right, no,
I agree 100%. So.
and again, anytime you're trying to avoid the pump for 3 or 4 tenths, I'm usually a yes.
Yeah, if I could
get
avoid
it,
the pump, I definitely would have,
But you already got the liner, you
Yep.
already got the pump.
Yep.
Again, it's a foot higher, you're gonna have a mound, you're gonna have to,
Yeah, I'll probably just push it back a little bit more into the tree line just to
I was
clear out
thinking
that
of
brush.
like turning the system and trying to wiggle it between the
I tried
trees
between
and
all those oaks, but it's
and
the
like
slope
a
that's there, it's, yeah.
kitty corner it, like make it a long way along the slope.
Yeah, it's just tree work, that's the problem. I know I only showed the oaks, but there's all pines in there, that whole slope is pine, so once you get in there and start digging all that out.
Like this almost could be a candidate for like a terraced,
Yeah.
right? If it is perched and we were able to do it, I don't know.
now, I've heard the argument that you don't like to turn the system with contour?
I could have on this hill, but I just kept it with the natural grades that were kind of there, because they already squared the backyard off. But that would, if this one tree wasn't here where it says 40 mil,
Yeah.
it almost fit perfectly, but then the grading was just in those other trees, and it is a lot of clearing in there, so it's easier to just make everything straight. Because now what am I gonna have a hump on one side of the yard and not the other side of the yard? Let's just have the whole yard be uniform and look nice like it does now. Because even now it's filled
nice,
up.
pretty, tree wells around the trees.
Yeah. They may need one anyways by the corner of the 104 there, so. A couple oaks right there.
Now, going back to that argument with the nitrogen load, Ned, question to you is, I mean, is that a presumed on an undersized lot with a 4-bedroom? I mean, should you
Yeah,
be
so,
concerned with adding, it's a 4-bedroom, I mean, I'm not gonna deny that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think you should be concerned about that, and that'd be a great reason to deny it to me, because it is oversized.
yeah, so it's currently non-compliant.
Yeah, so if they wanted to put the 4th bedroom on, they'd have to put in a D-night, so.
Right.
And a D-night would solve a lot of your problems, because with
Right.
D-night, you can do a 50% reduction
Yeah,
as
it'd be a
well.
lot smaller, my
Yeah.
hump would be tucked more in the corner, but they're selling, so they're not interested.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
actually,
they're selling,
Yeah.
that wasn't mentioned
With-
either, so it's
I
not.
haven't even looked at all the grades. Would the D-night even help eliminate the pump, or is that still?
No,
too
it
much?
still wouldn't
No,
have made
it's
it.
No, I
still-
looked at it.
Because I still
We were
wouldn't be able to
close.
go close to the water table because it's oversized, so you'd still get the same groundwater
Undersized.
separation. Yeah.
If you pushed it out over that 102, I was trying to do the math and to see if you could gravity from that 104. I mean, it's tight.
It's
but
tough, but
You'd
yeah,
have to go right to that property line.
yeah, and then it'd be like to the 10th and,
You'd be minimum, yeah, you'd be 1% I came up with from the
Yeah.
tank to D-box. I mean,
and then the trees, so yeah, you save on the pump, but then you're gonna lose the trees and,
and you need more fill,
Yeah.
because you're down over the
yeah,
embankment.
because that'd be a lot deeper down.
But you're out of the old system, but
Yeah. I think taking the old system out, he'll probably just remove that entire system and probably the first row of chambers, that'd be it, remove the other 3 rows. No, I understand that.
I mean,
Yeah, I understand the groundwater, yeah.
and it only helps the system be being a foot higher.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't,
I don't disagree, I just
It
ask for what I
does.
can and leave it up to you guys.
if it
If
didn't
I
have
didn't
that,
ask for it and the client came back to me, I'd say sorry.
if it didn't have that big hill coming at
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I know,
But
that is
there's
such a slope coming
And
down.
it goes up
yeah.
higher to the 18th
Yeah.
green. It's like another 4 or
Oh,
5
yeah,
feet
we all know that
higher.
every house out there is mounted systems.
So
yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
10 feet of,
Oh, there's at least another 30 feet of pitch coming down
Coming
that hill,
down that
from the
hill.
clubhouse, yeah.
and the other side of the road, and
Yep,
it keeps
so that keeps
climbing.
going up, yeah.
So I
Yeah,
just
there's a lot of
don't,
drainage. That's why this house, 25, was so
Not as
messed up.
bad as the other side.
Because, yeah, because all that water puddled right behind that house. That's why we had groundwater 18 inches there, I think.
and there was a note in our folder, there was a garbage grinder in this house that has been removed.
Okay, I'll double
correct?
check on that, but yes, I'll make sure it does get removed.
Someone done a home inspection, so there was a garbage grinder in here.
Okay. I'll make sure that gets removed. Let's go back to 4, I'll revise that.
But,
Yep, I understand.
I mean, I'm okay with you wanna turn it a little, when you read,
Yeah, I'll try and just twist it a little bit, make the grading work a little better, but like I said, at least now it's uniform with the yard, and that's how the yard looks, so I feel like twisting it now, either one side's gonna be graded out further, or it's not gonna look uniform like it does now.
Yeah.
And they have their privacy from the golf course, I don't wanna take any of that away right now either.
yeah, we'll look into the
That
neighbor's
tee box is
backyard.
right there in the backyard,
Correct.
that, what is it, 16th tee box or 17th, whatever it is.
And you're gonna try to go with a little swale kind of between the tanks and the field now? to that
Yeah, so that's why
103.
if I twist it a little bit, that'll make
Okay.
that a little easier, then they can just direct it off of the trees. So I'll probably give it a little twist and just show the grade like that.
Agree, not agree,
But,
not giving them the foot?
yeah, I'm leaning towards, because the other,
Yep.
the bedroom,
You don't need nitrogen loading already, and that's the only way it treats it is through the,
yeah, because, I mean, I was looking at like, how can we make it work where it's not gonna be or it'd be better? I mean, then I'm like back and forth, like the 10 minutes per inch, it's not terrible, but at the same time,
Yeah, it's not bad. It's
there is
thick,
increase,
so,
the
yeah.
undersized lot, like there's so many different variables out here,
Yep.
but I think ultimately, I don't want to be back here 5-10 years and go, oh yeah, we let this go through, and now it's,
No, I'm fine with that, I understand.
I'm fine, I mean,
Yeah, I
once
agree with
it's
it,
just.
yeah.
right, and someone's not here, and be like, you guys,
Yep. No problem.
Um, three. Yeah, because you can't even get away from that 104, like you said, it's right through the system.
Yeah, it's right
so
through it, so it's.
That's what we
I was pretty
call
much either,
water.
Like you said, going
You
way
can't
back
get
in
to the
corner.
103
Yeah.
to
And
even
I knew
like-
with the 102, I was gonna hit groundwater at 18 inches, so Now I'm still up at 105 with my top, so that's a huge grade to carry all the way out there, you know? Especially if I try to do gravity, because then how do I cover the pipe? You know how that works,
And
I
then,
gotta hump over the
yeah,
pipe.
and then it freezes in
Yeah.
the winter because you're running it.
Yeah, I just had that happen in a Cushing where they wanted me, I dropped the pump tank like a foot to get pitched back, because I was
So-
actually pumping downhill, if that makes sense.
Yeah, into a valley.
Pumping downhill and then back
Go
up
back
again,
up.
yeah.
So what do you think, Chris? Two of us have to be unanimous. But you know that too, so you have the right to continue.
Yeah, no, I have no
No?
problem with that, I agree with you guys.
Being the
Yeah, you have a solid reason, the nitrogen loading is a solid reason to deny it, I agree with you 100%.
No, we're in agreement.
I had to come here for the sieve no matter what, so that's why I asked for it.
Okay. Here it is. I make a motion to deny the requests, for the 1-foot waiver on 32 Heritage Hill Drive to the water table, but approve the number 2 waiver, for the variance for just one, perk coal and a sieve.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
I'll be fine.
And when, while you're here too, I mean, we've been discussing, nitrogen loading.
Okay.
And changing our local regs.
All right.
Adding one for that, just so you're aware.
We
If
have
you
a
have-
discussion after this one?
It's on the agenda, it's gonna be on for a while.
All right, I'll listen in for a bit, I'm not a
if-
huge rush to get home.
If you're for it, against it, we're just trying to get input.
Yeah,
Before we
definitely
change
want
if
to get some input. I like
something
to
as
see
major
that.
as that, cause it's a, you know,
Yep.
making everybody do a D-night system if they don't meet nitrogen loading.
Yep.
I want everybody aware
Yeah, that's a good
before we ever did something like that.
All right, next on the agenda is 11 Apple House Road. Continued discussion from July 6th, 2023 regarding a complaint from a resident regarding a sewage pumping company. Actually, you want to just talk about the specifics to the complaint and then,
Yeah, so,
Go from there.
the resident complained that, apparently it was Bay State, septic, sewage company went there to pump out their septic, which they're a regular customer. And then, they asked for a check on the door and there was no check in the door. They tried to call the owner and they couldn't get him, and apparently they pumped it, and once they found out there weren't check there and they couldn't get in touch with the owner, they decided to pump it back in. That's actually illegal. You're not allowed to, wherever you pump something, it has to be a licensed facility. You cannot pump it back into a septic tank. So you can, if you go there and there's no check, you can say, hey, I'm not pumping it, but you cannot pump it and then pump it back in. So, you know, obviously we talked to the Bay State, I talked to the owner and one of the supervisors. They said it was a new guy who just made a mistake. The owner of the house, the residents, they actually came in and they had a voicemail on their phone that where the one was the secretary saying, you know, hey, you know, we're looking for you, you have to pay this, you know, you need to make a payment. And then, like 20 minutes later, there was another call, another message saying, okay, you know, we've waited 15 minutes, you're not there, you're gonna have to reschedule. So they apparently, it wasn't like they pumped it and said, okay, you have to pay us, you know, find another payment. They were, the office was aware that they pumped it back in, which we didn't know at first. We thought it was just a mistake of one individual. But obviously, if the office is saying reschedule it, it was because they were aware that it was pumped back in. And like he came today actually and gave me his voicemail, which was new information.
so part of the keeping this on, even though it's not a full board tonight, was just to get it out there to the public, that if anyone else has experienced something similar, we would be interested in hearing about it. To anyone who's out there, you know, listening or eventually watches this meeting. That was, I mean, I don't think we were gonna make a decision tonight as far as what we're gonna do going forward, without Bob here. Did you have anything to add?
No, nothing to add. I would think maybe, If you wanna wait for Bob before we do it, if we do
Yeah,
continue.
you're allowed to make a decision.
I mean, send them a letter from the board, signed by the board that, obviously they know it's not, but I wanna put something in the file. We have a
Yeah.
file on them, because they have to get
I can think of lots of things too.
redone, permitted every year,
Um,
right, licensed. So I'd like to have at least a letter in the file and something sent to them stating, obviously, you cannot do this again.
So that, obviously discharging back into a tank like that, you're only supposed to discharge sewage into a licensed facility, right? Is that a state thing that there would already be repercussions from the state on this? Or is that something we should discuss further with us too?
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to check into that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a state license that you would have to get to be a licensed facility. So they are licensed with us as well to pump it out, but they're, obviously that house is not licensed to receive it,
Alright. I'd be curious if there's other people out there too, before I made a final decision. I mean, I definitely, obviously document it and let me in the file and that file, and also, when it comes time for, license renewal too, being that pumper's file. But as far as a final verdict, a decision going forward, I think the three of us should actually chime in, because I'm sure Bob has some stuff to say too. Opinion, right? So, but I at least want to get it out there for the public, so if we hear anything more first.
Yeah, so if this has happened to anyone, please give the Board of Health a call, because they're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, and then I had talked to the person this happened to too, and I said that I would make sure that we did that too. So I wanted to make sure we're covering that base before we, decide how we're gonna proceed with it.
I'm just looking for the next meeting dates, so I can make a motion. That's all, yeah, looking at. Yeah, so if you wanna, I'm fine with that. If we wanna wait for Bob to make a decision, see if anybody gets back to us by August 2nd is our next meeting.
Works for me.
Any comments? Make a motion to continue 11 Apple House Road discussion until the August 2nd meeting, 2023.
Second that. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next on the agenda is Lakeville Board of Health regulations pertaining to subsurface disposal systems and water. Continued discussion from July 6th. So yeah, tonight would just be more informal stuff. If anyone's got anything new to add.
Darren's never heard about what we're trying to do, so maybe.
Just trying to enforce nitrogen loading, basically.
Well, not Ed, he presented a couple of options to us, but we're trying to do something with nitrogen loading on undersized lots and wells.
I agree with that.
And there's so many ones going on, and how to get
I've
it
been trying to
under,
talk to Middleborough about the same thing, we in certain areas. of
try to
Middleborough.
get it under control. We don't want to spot select, we need to do it.
Yep.
Well, and try and stay ahead of what eventually could be coming our way.
Well, and you just know that on these lots, wherever you put your septic now is where it goes in perpetuity. It's never gonna go anywhere else, so it's sewer, so why not put the best system you can in for the water table and for the client? Because
And you're one of
lasts a
the
lot longer.
few engineers that really put them in when we don't ask for it.
Yeah.
You're one of the only ones.
Yeah, I tried, but it's, whether it's their home, if it's their forever home, I push for it, I push for a stone bed. When people are selling, they want the plastic chambers, get out, so it's tough. I try and get in touch with the new owner sometimes, see if we can do something better too, but.
So I guess the sticking point on how we do it is whether we do it, if you're within less than 100 feet of a well, is that when you have to do D-night? Or do we want to do it on a 20,000 square foot lot or anything under 440? It's,
My thought would be anything under nitrogen loading like we just had, so we get a 4-bedroom on a 3-bedroom system, that was at D-night. All the other towns in the area are doing 100 feet from wetlands, most of them. So if you're near wetland, you gotta do D-night if you're within 100 feet. Rochester just changed their reg to that. Wareham's 150 feet for repairs. Marion is the entire town. Mattapoisett, the entire town is
I
treated.
was just gonna say, Ed put it in our notes, a couple of
Marion
things.
and
different
Mattapoisett,
towns.
the entire town?
Marion's 100 feet, Mattapoisett is everywhere. And absolutely within 100 feet, you have to do advanced.
There was one that was what, anything below 20 minutes an inch? Too?
Oh, it was Rochester.
So it's
yeah.
pretty much, you just can't build.
Yeah, Rochester, you got the 20-minute per inch rule, and now you got the 100-foot rule. It used to be 150, you couldn't build anything within 150 wetlands for the septic, so we're really limited to lots, and they went down to the state for 50, but now if you're within 100, you gotta do a D9, so that was their change.
Right.
We'll let you build now within the wetlands, but we want a D9 system.
Yes.
And that's fine trying to protect wetlands, but I think in Lakeville, my priority is protecting wells.
Yep, so I would
That-
agree, any, like you've already had, I know anything with 3 wells, we always knew as engineers, if I have 3 wells, I gotta do a D-night. That's a great reg too, because maybe you have oversized lots, but you're stuck because of wetlands. So you have 10 acres, but you really only have a half-acre land.
Which you
So
probably
you
do.
need your nitrogen loading, so you don't require a D-night, but really your upland area is, so then your reg should include upland area in the wording, not just lot area.
One thing that was proposed was, it's not restricting, it's proving that you don't need it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was an interesting concept, I thought. Because we're not pigeonholed into one box, right? Where it's like, well, this is the guideline, but if you want to do more,
Yeah.
come to us with some more evidence. Kind of have a discussion like we had tonight earlier on that other one,
And then that's it, you would have to like show the abutting wells, if they were all lower nitrates, if they had no
Right,
issue with
yeah,
nitrates,
so, yeah.
then maybe they could grant the waiver and accept it, but otherwise, you would have to prove it. Because there's always the exception, like you said, there's a dozen different types of scenarios, so,
Right.
some of those might not need it, but like I said, the majority of them probably do.
Yep.
And I think that would always be in our wording for approval. You always
Yeah.
have the right to come and appeal.
I agree with the nitrogen loading because I just hate like a blanket regulation. So in Wareham, it doesn't matter if you have 50 acres.
Yeah, I would
if I'm within
never
150 feet of a
be for
wetland,
that.
you have to put a D.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
So then I'm trying to get up more than 150, so now I'm pumping out to somewhere else so I can get away from it so I can put in, stay in the system. It doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes. So I agree with the undersized lots, like, you should really be looking at D-man on all those. Because you're just stuck there forever.
Right.
And you know, that when that one fails, you're just gonna dig it out, take a piece of the retaining wall out, dig it all out.
Put it
all
right back in.
Fix the wall and go on their way.
Yeah, we've already dug out quite a few,
Yeah.
like even after 10, 12 years, I mean,
Yeah.
number one was 6 years.
Yep.
So, I mean, like I said, you're not gaining anything, like I said, and if you do the D-night, you're gonna get a system that lasts a lot longer.
Yeah,
so.
it's just, the thing is the tracking, so I would advise you to talk to Barnstable and get in their tracking, see if you can join their system so that you aren't responsible as the town to track it.
Everyone.
And then they offer programs for the homeowners so that they'll provide services and they hook everything up so that the homeowner just pays them and they get all the services taken care of and they track it all and they send the letters when people don't do what they're supposed to do so that you just get a letter saying this person's violation right now of their contract, but you don't have to follow up on anything until they don't do it.
It's the RME, right?
Yeah.
Is there a fee for the town to be tied into Barnstable, or is it?
That I'm not sure of. I don't know if they like have a reason that you can get into their system, but I know they've started taking on some more towns.
I already asked them, they won't do it outside the Cape.
Yeah.
So they're doing it inside the Cape, but they are thinking of expanding at some point, but
The
at this.
RME, right?
Yeah, the
'cause
RME.
that's what was just at the class I was at when we were at.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
yeah.
at this point, they're just doing it on the Cape.
They're hoping to attract the money that goes to pipe, sewer into these type of systems where you're looking for a bunch of different things to solve the problem as opposed to just all the money going into one thing. And then there's the watershed stuff options too, which is, I don't know, like, it was great being on that testing facility and seeing different stuff. It'd be kind of cool if we got some people that rolled the dice around locally up here, that we had some through the winter stuff on some of these newer technologies that are cheaper than the traditional stuff that we have been. But, we have actually heard the case though too, like, a bottomless sand filter in a D-night tank's what, $60,000 roughly. You gotta pay a quarterly fee, but it should last 60 years, hopefully, as opposed to most systems last, what, 20?
Yeah.
So you're paying the same if you're replacing a conventional system 3
I
times.
replaced, I
for
won't
20.
replace one fast or one single layer, the when Louis is.
And he didn't maintain it, so I think.
Yeah, he didn't do the contract, so that, we know what happened there.
Now,
So it's almost the same cost. If it's 60 grand for one system for 60 years and 3 systems, 20 years, you know.
Yep, it is, it equals out if you go long term.
And they're only getting better, I
The
think.
D9 systems, they're all upgradable, so they're all components, so you know the components are gonna get changed, they're gonna get better, and add things, they'll have a new blower, they'll figure something out to fix that stupid blower that they make us put out there in the other people's houses, it's so loud, so. I'm sure they'll, yeah.
That Brock,
And if you bury them in their tubes, you don't hear them, then they condensate and they rust out, and you're replacing the
the
pump.
ones for those D9 tanks with the wood chips and the,
Yeah.
and the limestone, the fans for, the blowers for them, it was under those rocks. You couldn't even hear them.
Yeah.
They're smaller than the
Yeah,
fast.
it's different from the
The
fastest.
fast is more about it's stirring stuff up than just aerating,
Yeah.
and those ones, they just aerate them,
Just
so
put air in there.
it's a lot, and they use a lot less electricity too, so they're a lot
Yeah.
smaller fan.
now on a D9 system down, what's it, like 10 grand more to add a D9? Is
Yeah,
that
it's like
right?
10, and then the contract I'm hearing is like $500 a year. But
Just so
I tell
anybody
people,
watching
So you spend a little more at the
understands.
beginning, but you also get a smaller system. So yes, the system's more, but now my leach field is half the size. Typically, I can get a variance to groundwater because I'm doing treatment. So that's the other thing you have to consider too on these lots that you're doing treatment. Are you gonna allow groundwater to 3 or to 2 or no groundwater variances on these? Because that's the other thing that's gonna come from us as engineers is if I'm putting in a D9, I want the 2 foot to groundwater for my client because he's already paying 10 grand, so let's save him 5 grand in sand, and walls or whatever I got. But you as a board should think about that too as you're doing the spray, because that's the first thing I'll ask for.
Well, and the other thing, we open it up to, like, if you prove that you don't have to do stuff, there's other things out there too,
Yeah.
where, which we talked about a little bit, was, you know, the pee cycling.
Yep.
Separate tank just for your urine. And that can reduce the rest of your system size and all kinds of other things too.
So
It's taking hold in other states,
Yeah.
so.
The one you were talking about with wood chip, that's about 15,000. Like the fast is 10, but so it does quite a bit more than a fast, and it's quieter than a fast.
Those numbers should be coming out soon.
But it
too.
is a little more expensive.
And it is, it's just a little more, but like I say, $500 a year, so in 20 years, your next door neighbor's replacing their system for 50 grand and you pay $10,000 in fees. And then in 40 years, they're replacing the system again, and you pay $20,000 in fees, so. It
In the long
does work
term.
out in the end towards the homeowner. If it's your forever home and it's gonna stay there, it's definitely worth having.
Wait, it's-
And
And
that's
it's
what I always say
comparable
too.
to
It's
like a like, if you're in the city and you got a sewer and water bill, you know, what's $150 a month for a sewer and water bill, or quarterly?
And the other thing too is like people spend thousands on the landscaping and to make it look nice for the neighbors. It's like, why not put a D9 in to make your neighbor's well better? You know, it's like your neighbor's got kids, why not do something like that rather than throw a bunch of bushes to make your house look pretty? It's like, to me, that would be more important.
All right, so I just wanted to jot down a couple because I know Bob isn't here, so. I mean, I know your preference already was go to 440. If you don't need nitrogen loading, like new construction,
Yeah.
you need T9. I think
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, so
Ed's
if you have
recommendation.
30,000, you can have 3 bedrooms. If you have 20,000, you
Right.
have 2 bedrooms. And then, you know, most of the Clark Shores is gonna be all D-nights now, which they should all be anyways. 'Cause
Right.
it's mostly shallow wells that were there, and you're not, even though people are connecting to water, you're not forcing them to disconnect their wells, so the well's still there. So the water, unless.
Right,
they
you're getting
disconnect
all this
the well.
nitrogen loading because there's gonna be 1 or 2 stray wells, no matter
People
what.
aren't gonna wanna tie in with all the nightmares they're going, and everyone don't wanna tie in now, so they're gonna keep their wells, so maybe we fix the situation.
In the long term too, you want to keep that pond healthy. Because that's a huge resource for this town, and if Long Pond becomes all algae and things like that, that's, you know, that's gonna be a huge hit to the town, so.
Yeah.
There's other benefits to
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you know, I agree, the primary is the wells,
Yeah.
but a secondary would be.
Yeah, the pond, absolutely, because everything drains to the pond, and same out there, we know it's not a real hard perch, but an area is perched out there, because when we get true treatment, it's just riding along that feet.
When it's that unseen thing that people just take for granted and don't notice, is that nitrogen that gets into that pond, you know, the algae, cyanobacteria, there's other things that can eventually come in there, and like, it could be detrimental to our health, but then that nitrogen gets fed on by all the algae and stuff, it eats up all the oxygen in the water, and then the fish just start dying. And you just have dead zones, and eventually, I mean, it's a big lake, it would take a while, but eventually the whole thing could just die. And, I don't know, people like that pond for a reason, so they should be maybe behind some of these things, so.
To clarify, just on the well though, so 440, that's on one issue, if you don't mean that. What would you do for the wells? What are you feeling that any well that's under 100, you need D9? Is that, I mean, I'm just trying to ballpark.
Well, I think the 440 is ultimately is meant to protect the wells, because like I said, most of those will have wells on them. But like I said, it can be a combination of two. Like, in most cases, if you're asking for a waiver for a well, you're on an undersized lot. I mean, it's unlikely that you're on a 70,000
Well, it might
square.
not be just that you're squished, because of wetlands. So there's, like I said, there's lots in Clark Shores that are 10 acres, or 5 acres, and there's only a quarter acre of upland, and you've got a septic and a well there, so I need an extra loading, so I don't need a D9.
That's right, yeah.
But, and I'm outside my 100-foot well, so that's why I think you have to say that if you're really gonna do it right, I think it has to be your upland area for your qualification of square footage to meet extra loading. You can't just say I got 5 acres. I have 40,000 square feet of uplands, I get 4 bedrooms.
Okay.
Just like your contiguous rules in town, you gotta have 20,000 square feet of contiguous upland to be a buildable lot, you guys should have that too, that you need contiguous upland area to meet your extra load. Otherwise, you're gonna have those lots that are gonna just,
Bypass.
they're gonna be bypassed, and yet you could have wells that are exactly 101 feet away, and everyone around them is denied and not that. So it just, I wouldn't want those exceptions, especially when neighbors are trying to fix it. It's just some of the issues I see that I've seen.
Yeah, that's why I'm
it.
we're looking for
I see so
input
many down
from
there, it's-
engineers, and you deal with every town, and you,
Yeah, it's just everything's like that. I see little loopholes that I see other people just jump through because, oh, it's, the right lets me do it, I'm gonna do it, so.
We were at that training, we were
Yeah, eliminate
spitballing
those
all
loopholes.
kinds of
And it makes it
ideas.
easier for us, is without the loopholes, we know exactly what to do. We know what you guys want, we know what to present, and our clients are happy, and we can give them the straight answer, because no one likes the, I'm not sure.
right, and that's, it got brought up at
Especially
our
when it's a
last,
$20,000 difference, it's like, I'm
meeting.
not sure isn't a good answer.
you know, I was starting to push for D-nights down there. We've never done it since I've been on the
Yeah.
board,
Yep,
and I don't think it's the right to pick and choose.
yep.
I
I
want,
think a blanket, yes.
everybody
blanket.
has to do it.
And then like you
If
say,
we're not
if you give
picking-
the opportunity for me to prove why I don't need it, that's what Middleborough does too with their well regulation. If I want to be within 150 feet of a well, I have to prove why. I'm downgrading of the well, the
Yeah,
well's
do a
4
water
feet
flow.
away, I've done a test, their septic's closer than mine, like, they have to give reasons on why. They should give me that variance. I agree with that.
Okay. I appreciate the input
Yeah, no
anyway,
problem.
and sticking around. Again, we're gonna be talking about this probably for months
All right.
before we ever, at least. in
Well,
my
I'm coming in, I
feeling.
just get all 5 kids at home, so hopefully the house is
All right.
staying in, so. Have a good day.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Darren. Did you guys have anything to add?
Will a D-night system work with electricity? If the power dies,
No.
can't use it?
The
So they
blower.
will work, like a fast system won't work, but like some of these newer ones,
Won't
that
work as well,
Won't work as well.
but the oxygen being added makes the process more efficient, but it's still gonna be doing some work.
Okay, so
It won't,
if the power goes out for 3 days, you don't have to worry, you can still flush and use the system.
yeah,
If it's a gravity system.
as long as it's gravity.
As long as
Yeah.
it's not a pump system, yes.
Alright.
It's just, the blower won't be working,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It'll still work. It'll still flow through the tank.
Yeah.
Because until they come to the startup, the system works until it blows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like I said, with the fast, so much of it is, the blower is doing more than just bringing in air. It's circulating everything too. And on those ones, like I said, it would still function and it would go out, but you wouldn't be getting nearly the treatment. But if it's only 3 days,
Yeah,
Yeah.
my only concern is
Yeah.
power goes out now, you suddenly can't use it.
yeah. But the other thing is too, for a lot of systems, any pump system, if your power's out, you can't flush the toilet anymore, you know? Or you can flush it a few times, but,
And that's
you know.
And you need bottle water.
Yes. And we just want, I just want to have the public aware. I mean, this is a $10,000 increase on the price of a septic system if we put this into effect, this local upgrade. So in my eyes, it's justified. It should be. It's what
And
any new
for
construction
the
is.
most part, We're talking about, this would only affect houses that would need a new Title V anyway. So if you're selling it, it's changing hands or whatever.
Yeah, it won't affect anybody
Who's just living there.
living if you don't have a failure.
So
But at time of upgrade, if you don't
that's
meet
when you get
nitrogen
your
loading.
money in and it's there.
And it's not everybody in Lake by any means, it's just the undersized lots. So.
You mean,
Just
sure.
Well, no,
Well, even just Heritage Hill, this one,
This is Heritage Hill,
yeah, Heritage
Churchill
Hill,
Shores.
Reservoir Heights.
There's all kinds of places
Cool
around
Street.
town, it's not just you
There's
guys.
a lot of,
Rushmore
You'd be
Road,
surprised.
you know.
there's a
all
lot of
those
them,
areas.
more than you
You'd be
think,
surprised.
that don't meet nitrogen loading. And these smaller lots they had back in the 70s, it was all Heritage Hill. So this one tonight would have required a septic, D9, because they didn't meet, they would have had, 440,000. They only had 31,000 square feet.
Yeah,
If
even
we had
along
this
Main
law,
Street.
they would have to,
But in fairness too, like along the way, they had a 3-bedroom house and whatever, maybe it was 20 or 30 years ago.
Right.
They upgraded to 4 and they weren't supposed to.
Right.
So it's just kind of payback for something they shouldn't have done, you know, so it's not like, it would go to everyone. Because a lot of those houses in those neighborhoods are still 3 bedrooms and those houses would not get,
would not be affected, because you'd
Probably
already,
just had an open concept and threw a wall and said, I got a new bedroom.
yeah.
Or change the
Or,
office into that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so we good for discussing
I
that?
think we're good for that, discuss that tonight. We
If
can
anybody has
continue.
any comments or opinions for the Board of Health, you can call Ed or leave a message or come to the next meeting. It's on every, meeting, right? We're gonna continue to every
So we'll
meeting.
continue this to the
Future.
August 2nd.
And anybody like to come in and discuss why we should or should not do this? We'd appreciate it. Make a motion to continue, the discussion on nitrogen loading. What was it labeled? Lakeville Board of Health regulations pertaining to subsurface disposal systems and water discussion till August 2nd, 2023.
Second that, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes for May 3rd, 2023 and May 17th, 2023.
I make a motion to continue the meeting minutes to the May 3rd meeting minutes and the May 17th meeting minutes until August 2nd, 2023, until Bob Palucci is present.
I will second that. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next agenda to discuss recent Board of Health agent pending items.
Yeah, so, an issue came up today. The town is doing work on the DPW building on Montgomery Street. And they have an existing septic there and they're adding some tanks and the plan was to pump to the original septic tank. I think the person doing the work, wanted to know if they could have a second septic field, that would be in the Zone A. And the idea there is if it was in the Zone A, they could go gravity, whereas if they pump to the existing one, which has the capacity, and is outside the Zone A, they would have to put in a pump. But honestly, I don't think they have to put in the pump because they already have a pump, so they just could locate that pump. But they wanted to know if you would be agreeable to something like that, putting a second septic field in the Zone A on the lot. And the lot's, it's at least 5-6 acres, and only about 10% of it is in the Zone A.
I looked at this at the office when I went earlier, so if you've seen this, if you want to look at it.
Yeah, I can show it to
In my opinion, there's no reasoning to allow them to put it in the Zone A, in my opinion. They have a 6-acre lot, it's new construction in the Zone A, right, on Elder's Pond.
you. So where they want to put it is directly in front of the building. There's a rate,
It's the Zone A line.
yeah, they have, except for the roof drains there
Yes.
now.
They want to put it right there, which we're not even sure it would fit where the water table's at 89. I think it's going to be a pump system anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's in a Zone A. To justify them to put it here when you have this entire lot, And this system up here is already big enough to
Yeah,
take it.
It's,
So they don't need a
over,
new system.
it's over 400 gallons per day.
They can add the,
It's actually sized for 26 employees, and I don't even think we have probably about 15, so it's already oversized.
Yeah, I don't.
so I don't see how you can just approve a addition when the whole lot was zone A, but I mean, unless you
Right,
have a
and-
different.
Was it just making it easier for someone? It's not, I don't think it's saving any money, right?
I think they saw that there was good sand there, so they said, hey, let's put it there, but there's good sand everywhere on that lot. And like I said, I don't think they considered the groundwater, and once I looked at it, that was the first thing I looked at was groundwater. I'm like, I think you're gonna need a pump anyways. I don't know that until we do the perk test, but they would have to do a perk test, obviously. And we would determine both the groundwater and I'm guessing with,
But, you know, my eyes, your new construction allowing them to put it in a zone A when you shouldn't increase flow in a zone A when there's no need to on a 6 acre lot.
No, I don't
And
think so
I
either.
don't see.
It's, reminds me of another argument that's coming down the road.
And then,
Potentially.
Ed, I think you were gonna tell them, anyway, they were trying to pump from one tank to the other. So
yeah, I would say take the existing pump and just move it into a larger 1,000 gallon pump chamber.
And then gravity feed this into this one pump tank back out, is what Ed was gonna suggest to him.
Yeah, I mean,
So this is gonna be a septic tank, a new septic tank, and there'll be one pump, this will gravity in up to there.
yeah, I mean, just because you see good sand, I don't see, like. any
Yeah,
need.
and like I said, I
It's
have-
not gonna save us a dramatic amount of money. If it's, there's not like some kind of hardship. Like, I don't understand why.
Well, even with this system, you're gonna have to put this tank anyway, so all you're saving is that one pump tank, like Ed said, you're just taking these pumps and putting it there. It's cheaper than a new system anyway, so I don't understand the reasoning.
Yeah, because to build a new field.
I don't understand the reasoning.
Building a new field is not cheap.
But they don't have to touch the field already
Oh.
meets.
A good candidate for just a tank would be.
You're pushing that.
I'm telling you, because I'm like, think of like, because what is it? 85% of the nitrogen comes from the urine. If you just put it in a tank and pumping it out once a year.
So basically 90% comes from your toilet, 80% comes from your urine. And the thing is, with the urine, it's a lot less because there's no flush, you know, when you can, you know, it's because with a flush, you're getting like 5 gallons every flush, so it fills up quicker.
It checks off all kinds of boxes.
It's
Size,
without question,
systems,
it's the cheapest nitrogen.
cost.
thing out
Like,
there.
you get pumped once a year. Like, it's not a quarterly bill, you know? I don't know. Just, it checks off boxes. Making life easier.
Should we, it wasn't on the agenda, we don't need to make a motion, this was just a discussion
This is just to get your feedback so I can
Yeah.
talk to the engineer.
before they try to submit something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be a no in the zone A.
Yeah.
It-
Okay, so 2 no's, which,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
And then we had some more discussions, I think there was
Yeah, just want to let everyone know that they did find the first 2 mosquitoes with West Nile. One was in Brookline, one was in Worcester, so they're not near here, which is good. And at this point, to have only 2 is actually pretty good. There's been no detection of Tripoli, so that's very good. Yeah, and that was the other, and the other one is, so the Lyme disease has been increasing pretty much year to year. In the month of June, I think we have 9 Lyme disease cases in Lakeville. What's unusual though is we have 7 cases of anaplasmosis. That's kind of, it's very similar to Lyme, same tick that spreads it and everything like that. But we just haven't had that many cases to have 7 cases in the same time. I mean, it's almost comparable to Lyme, and Lyme usually is the dominant one. We've also had 3 cases of babiosis, which is also another tick-borne disease. So the ticks are out basically, and they're spreading a lot of disease at this point. So just, what's that?
They're all dare ticks? Isn't that what they call the dare ticks that's spreading?
Yeah,
They're all dare ticks?
it's called the black-legged tick, which is what people call the deer tick, yeah. And, Most of the ones, sometimes they're in the nymph stage. They're very small, like, but they can get bigger as well. So sometimes people don't realize it's a tick because it's so small, but it's just in the early stages of life.
And do
They
those,
still carry it.
Yeah.
yeah, are those two similar, symptoms?
Yeah, anaplasmosis is very similar to Lyme in the symptoms and everything. Some people say it's a little worse. Babiosis is probably a little less severe than Lyme. But
Treated the same way?
yeah, they're all treated with doxycycline, and but obviously you need to go to your doctor to get that. The only thing with babiosis is there are other things with that, like you can't give blood after you give blood, babiosis and stuff like that. So it's more of a long-term thing, although the symptoms may be a little less than the Lyme. But like some people who have babiosis never really even realize it.
So I guess the main thing coming from it is check yourself for ticks
Yeah.
regularly.
If you work outside,
You're
buy
outside, you're not
permethrin,
mowing
tree
the
clothes
lawn,
with
huh?
permethrin. That's what I do all the time. And
Yeah.
I still find that ticks in once in a while too.
Like if you're a golfer?
I don't go to the woods, my ball's in the fairway.
It doesn't matter.
No.
I've been out
Get
mowing
it
my
right
lawn.
for you.
I go to dump my grass and like,
There,
I've had ticks crawling all over me just from cutting the grass.
Yeah,
So-
long, tall grass is one of their favorites.
But even in my
I've got-
regular, even the cut grass, like, I mean, well, not, but just dumping the clippings,
Yeah,
I've
even in
seen
your
ticks on me from that.
I don't think you need to be in the woods trekking around.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh?
So to be fair, clippings was long grass.
But not, I mean, I was in 4 feet of grass last week and I was like, maybe sure I was hosed down with permethrin before I went in there. But, yeah, it's not always just the tall grass that you hear of traditionally, like, oh, I'm not in the woods. Hey, my wife works in an office building, she's had Lyme disease. So either me or the dog brought it in the house and she got it that way, so.
Let the dog.
Hey, I don't know, I've had Lyme disease twice, so.
I have had Lyme disease last year, so it's no joke. It can affect you pretty seriously. Anything else?
That was it.
I've got nothing else.
I have nothing else. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.